everything the way the world is structured right now is based on external validation, and that is why every problem exists. If you shift the world to intrinsic value and doing things based on passion, desire, um, just providing for community, you fix all problems because external validation creates this sense of that you're never enough. Um, it's based on like that's why we live in a world where like you suffer from perfectionism, and that's inherently you do everything based on validation from the world. And if you shift the world away from that whole entire model, I think you actually get a healthy, sustainable, um, friendly world where people are just doing things because they want to do them. And I think society still functions well on that premise because people actually inherently already do things based on wanting to do things for others and to provide and to feel good. If you just take away the external validation, that solves for the suffering because all suffering is rooted in not feeling like you're enough. So if you take away um, that whole premise of the self and external validation, there is no suffering. Like you're never like society is built on always attaining something new, always getting. Um, I just think if you switch the whole system to intrinsic value and providing and already having enough value, and people will do things based on creativity, and you actually still get innovation based on that model because people will inherently want to do well for the world and do good for the world because they inherently want to be innovative instead of just doing things for the approval. And I think just based on external validation, that's why you get unhealthy actions. That's why you get a bunch of drug use or too much alcohol use or too much eating. And yeah, if you solve for that one simple thing, which is basically everything, just then you get a healthy world. So that's like you inherently go through school system, which is grading you based on your value, and that's why again that's related to suffering because if you're always trying to get someone else's validation, or then you're not going to actually want to do something. Like we live in a world where we don't want to like do anything. We don't want to get up in the morning. We don't want to really go to work because we're doing things based on um, someone else's model of like the whole system is built on pushing you into specific things that are going to help society. Um, but yeah, the education system and just the whole like that's like I wrote I wrote a bunch of songs. I started a podcast, and it was just kind of based on the idea of changing the world away from like pain to energy. And I didn't really understand the whole reason why I was doing it, but it has everything to do with all suffering goes back to doing stuff because you're trying to get validation from the world. And if you solve for that one variable, you get um, you get a better, like, just normal world, and there are no problems because you're no longer trying to prove your worth. You have intrinsic worth and value, and you already. And I actually think that if you live on the based on the model of external validation, I actually think it takes away from all your creativity and your need, your natural like energy flow. Like I actually even think that like the whole, even the whole, like even like certain models like the food system and how much food you should be eating. I actually generally think that food takes away energy and your body is already like sustained, but you've been conditioned your whole life to feel like food is that one thing that's going to provide energy. And then there's also this idea that sleep is providing energy, and maybe that's not necessarily true. And you've just been conditioned to eat a certain amount of food, eat certain foods, or rely on food or rely on sleep to provide energy. But what if it's just not actually providing that much energy and it's a revolving cycle that you can actually, that's really hard to get out of because the world is always trying to tell you that these specific things in life are there for you to give you energy and to give you life and to give you validation. And I think everything is backwards. And if you actually live off of intrinsic value, you get more creativity, you get more innovation, and you get people that are actually going to want to do things more so because you're not doing it for necessarily money, but you're doing it to want to help other people, and it's based on a system of internal, like unconditional love, and not that the world has your love. The world never really has energy or the end. So, anyways, I think the system should switch to that model and that narrative, and I would be interested in finding ways to restructure the world towards that in terms of education and just in general, so you don't wake up every day feeling like you have to go prove yourself all the time, because I think it actually gets in the way of just enjoying life. And yeah, so maybe other people feel the same.